Okay, over to you, Karina.
Okay, thank you, Emery. So just so you're aware, this webinar is being recorded for those that are unable to join us today, or if you need to review something for your application. We have muted all the microphones for the webinar portion. Um, so at the end, we'll open it up for questions. Um, ICLEI staff, as Emery said, ICLEI staff is here to help and will help hopefully be getting the issues settled. I expect that the presentation will be about 20 minutes, which is going to leave us with plenty of time for any questions that you may have. Thank you to those who have put the questions, some of their questions already into the registration form. So those will be answered throughout the webinar. So hopefully you're paying attention and you can see how your questions have been answered. But if not, don't worry, we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. So I wanted to begin by respectfully acknowledging that ICLEI Canada's work happens across Turtle Island, which has traditionally been and is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people since time immemorial. We recognize that reconciliation is a fundamental component of building net zero resilient communities. We are committed to strengthening relationships with Indigenous groups and knowledge keepers, knowing that reconciliation requires ongoing listening, unlearning, reflection, and action. We endeavor to listen and learn from Indigenous people on an ongoing process in the process of our work. So a little bit about ICLEI Canada. I'm sure many of you have joined us on previous projects. But ICLEI Canada, the local government for sustainability, is a global network of more than 2,500 local and regional governments committed to sustainable urban development. We're active in over 125 countries, and we've influenced sustainability policy and driven local action for low emission, nature-based, equitable, resilient, and circular development. Locally, we have worked with over 400 local governments, as well as industry, academia, and other NGOs. And if you want to learn more about some of the products we've done and resources, uh, feel free to click over to icleicanada.org for more information. So first, I'm going to start off with introducing myself. I will be one of the project's leads, helping steer this project over the next while. I currently have over 20 years of experience in municipal climate change work, and I'm a licensed professional engineer in Ontario. I'm going to turn over to Juan to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is. Sorry, this one says. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My name is Juan Rueda. I'm climate adaptation program manager here at ICLEI. I'm supporting Karina in this process, and thank you everyone for being here. We are looking forward to working with you, and I hope this new project is exciting for everyone. We're hoping to support you moving forward some of those actions that you may have just on your desk right now and take something from your plate, as we all know that you have limited capacity these days. So this is why we are here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And we also will have Eva Jackson. She'll be supporting the team throughout the project as well. But on top of this, this might look like a small group, but we are actually a very mighty team at ICLEI. So we have a wealth of expertise within ICLEI that we will be pulling in as needed to this project. So from a range, we will be supporting you with those local experts we have locally. And this will include access to people experienced in equity, innovative financing, and building project supports. Okay, so let's get started and learn about the Advancing Implementation and Training Initiative. So the AITI is a comprehensive training and collaboration program designed to support Indigenous communities and municipalities in moving adaptation actions to implementation-ready projects. The program has been designed to address the formidable challenges that lie between planning and execution. This program aims to bridge the gap and help communities achieve their climate ambitions and build towards a resilient
Sorry,
future.
sorry, Karina, I have to
Yep.
interrupt you. We can't see your slides. Do you have some slides?
The slides aren't showing?
Yeah, we can't see them.
Oh, yes, we do have slides. Why isn't
You
okay?
can just share your screen with there's a
Maybe.
little green on the
Yeah,
bottom
okay.
and then a little
Sorry.
arrow up.
Sorry about that. Do you Okay, do you see it now, Anne-Marie?
No, Karina, let me try. Let me try and see if I can share
Okay.
the screen. Can you see it now?
Uh, Sorry, you're not going to have the most up-to-date presentation.
Oh,
Um, Let me see. Sorry about this, everybody. Do you see it now?
yes.
Do you see it in presenter view? Okay. Do you see the notes or just the... No?
No, it's
Excellent.
all good, Karina. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Um, Luckily for this part, I just kind of read the slides, so you already have what was in the content there. Okay, so why participate? The AITI will strengthen your capacity, accelerate action, and connect you with peers and experts across Canada to share knowledge and advance a more resilient, sustainable future for your community. ICLEI staff will work with you to break down barriers and challenges faced in moving adaptation actions to implementation. By the end of this program, communities and municipalities will be prepared to bring forward prioritized actions to councils for support and funding. Resources and tools developed can also be used to support grant applications. Okay. So the AITA program is open to any any municipal or regional government or Indigenous community, regardless of the size and location. Um, as long as the community has a preliminary climate vulnerability and risk assessment, and a list of adaptation actions. A list of adaptation actions is critical as this program starting point will be based on the evaluation of adaptation actions. However, it's important to note that it doesn't necessarily have to be in an adaptation plan, but it may be adaptation actions that are listed in other master plan documents, such as urban forestry plans, asset management plans, or stormwater plans, to name a few. So, based on ICLEI's past work, we have identified a number of challenges that you may be facing in advancing climate actions to implementation. During the early one-on-one meetings, we will review the challenges with you so we can effectively build the resources to address those challenges. However, we also are recognizing that each community is facing its own unique challenges. So please let us know if you're experiencing any challenges that are unique, and we look forward to trying to address them as well. This collaborative approach has been designed to make the best use of all resources, including peer-to-peer networking, with the goal to break down roadblocks and fast forward implementation across the country. So this program's work plan was designed to support communities through to the end of 2026. In the preceding slides, we will go through the intended outcomes for each of the phases and how we anticipate supporting you through this journey, including the opportunity to meet in person in Halifax in conjunction with the Livable Cities Conference 2025. So we're currently moving through the inception phase, or phase 1. During this phase, we will be accepting applications to participate until February 28th. We expect that the successful applicants will be contacted by mid-March, and at this time, we will be scheduling one-on-one meetings to discuss identified actions and challenges. Behind the scenes, the ICLEI team is already working to develop self-assessment materials related to implementation, equity, and collaboration readiness as we prepare to support participants through to implementation. The one-on-one meetings will further support the development of these materials. So as we enter into phase 2, ICLEI will initiate a digital repository of adaptation resources that will be enhanced throughout the project. The adaptation resources and tools will be developed to ensure alignment with local environmental and jurisdictional considerations. This will ensure that adaptation actions remain relevant, sustainable, and legally compliant within different regions. The resources and case studies generated through this project can be used to influence local policy decisions regarding climate adaptation and equity. By the end of this phase, we expect that participants will be divided into thematic groups or cohorts. Peer-to-peer networking ensures that the participants not only learn from the experts during the project, but also continue to gain insights from each other, enhancing collaborative problem solving and innovation in climate adaptation across different regions. The matching of participants into cohorts will be based in part on shortlisted projects, climate priorities, local expertise, and anticipated project needs. Each cohort will be matched with an ICLEI cohort lead that will provide continued support to the group. However, the ICLEI team will work closely between cohorts to ensure that the expertise is available to address participants with multiple challenges. In addition, ICLEI staff and the peer-to-peer collaboration, thematic experts, that is, the experts that are leaders in their fields, will be identified and invited to contribute to both virtual and in-person meetings. This will include experts on social equity, particularly those familiar with environmental justice. The one-on-one meetings will continue, and we will ensure that participants can address unique challenges they have identified. So phase 3 is really a continuation and a refinement of phase 2, with a focus on streamlining a comprehensive list of potential climate adaptation actions into a prioritized short list that aligns closely with the local long-term resilience and equity goals. This process will ensure that the selected actions are not only strategically relevant, but also feasible, cost-effective, equitable, and broadly supported within the community. This phase has been carefully designed to foster collaboration and inclusivity, both essential components that contribute significantly to the overall success of a project. Group meetings, workshops, as well as one-on-one meetings will continue, as will the development of the resources and documentation to ensure knowledge is shared amongst all participants. By the end of September, we will be in a perfect position to meet at the in-person meeting in October. So finally, phase 4, which is the longest phase of this program, was designed to comprehensively prepare for the effective implementation of climate adaptation actions by ensuring all aspects of project development, from resource identification, budgeting, local support, and other barriers are addressed. The ultimate goal is to equip the participants with the necessary tools, knowledge, and support to move forward actions for council approval and funding successfully. These tools, along with the inclusion of equity considerations, will positively position participants to leverage senior level grant funding as well. The ICLEI Canada team will work closely with the participants to complete all necessary project preparation materials. This includes finalizing project plans, resource lists, budget sheets, and other documentation required for implementation readiness. In addition, ICLEI will conduct one-on-one sessions with participants to explore and understand the economic, social, and environmental costs of not implementing the shortlisted adaptation actions. The task aims to highlight the importance of timely action and reinforce commitment among stakeholders. So basically in this phase is where we're really taking and drilling down and getting all the information you would need to present to a city council or to a government agency to get funding. So how are we going to do this and how are we going to support you? As outlined in the work plan, the ICLEI team is planning for many touch points with participants. We anticipate up to 12 one-on-one meetings between ICLEI staff to identify and address unique challenges. And we expect that the first meeting with the successful participants to be held in late March. At this time, we also expect 3 group training sessions to be offered. These sessions will include invited experts to discuss common implementation challenges and strategies to address them. As mentioned earlier, one of these sessions will include experts on social equity and how to advance equity-centered adaptation actions. At the end of phase 2, At the end of phase 2, we mentioned that we will be forming cohorts, thematic cohorts. So these smaller cohorts will allow effective collaboration between peers, sharing their unique implementation challenges and strategies with fellow cohort participants. However, it is important to note that information and resources from one cohort will be shared broadly amongst all participants. This is in recognition that many of you are struggling with more than one challenge. The one-on-one meetings, along with the group and cohort discussions, will inform the tailored supports needed to address a participant's implementation challenges. The program brochure outlines examples of tailored supports, which could include developing customized frameworks, including equity-centered criteria, supporting the development of a business case, development of fact sheets on a variety of implementation tools, and much, much more. And finally, we do recognize the importance of building personal connections through in-person events. This program will include a full-day workshop for participants in conjunction with the Livable Cities Conference. An application for trouble subsidy will be distributed alongside the partnership agreements, and we will be allocating funding through an equitable review to promote access to the participants. And we're also excited to share that we already have some interest from the French-speaking communities. With enough continued interest, we aim to have a dedicated French-speaking cohort led by our ICLI Montreal office. To ensure maximum benefit for all participants, key resources will be produced in both French and in English. ICLI will also work to break down language barriers as much as possible to allow the effective sharing of information between all the cohorts. So what should be expected what do we expect for the participants? We really need a designated staff person who is committed through the duration of the project. So again, out to like November, December of 2026. As part of this training, we really need active participation in the one-on-one meetings, the cohort and group training sessions, as well as the peer-to-peer workshops. A lot of the benefit you're going to get is from learning from others, and so that participation is highly encouraged. We also want to encourage you to join the National Cohort Meeting in October in Halifax. Again, this is our opportunity to meet in person at that event. We also, depending on the actions selected, ICLI Canada might also be requesting data from you, the participants, that is relevant to your local municipality. So we want you to be able to collaborate with us and basically help us pull the information that's needed to support you. We expect that it's going to be about 3 hours a month of your time for the participation in the one-on-one calls, the group meetings, and the peer-to-peer workshops. On top of that, there will be time, depending on the length of or the number of adaptation actions you want to move forward with, and maybe how difficult those adaptation actions are. That will depend on the extra time needed to move your project forward. And then finally, we will have a partnership agreement that will need to be reviewed and signed, along with the completion of a self-assessment tool prior to and after the completion of the project. So we can basically verify how successful this program was in developing implementation tools for you. So the last steps, we encourage you to download and complete the application by February 28th. Once it's completed, you can email it to me at karina.richters@icli.org. And in the meantime, if you have any further questions or think of them after today's date, you can reach out to either myself or Juan for clarification. Okay, and as I mentioned, we did receive some questions during the registration process. So some of them have been addressed during the webinar, but there's a couple that weren't. I'm going to go through those right now, and if there is anything else, any other questions that you may have, feel free to write them into the chat now, and we'll take those questions. Okay, so one of the questions we got was, can this cohort review existing documents? i.e., if I have a draft implementation report, can this project review specific costs? Yes, and I think this is the perfect project to do that. The AIT project will help you build out your implementation plan and prioritize actions. the tools and resources developed will help you define specific project costs. Another question we got was, what if you're in the middle of an updated climate risk and vulnerability assessment? Are you still eligible? And yes, I would say yes. So the eligibility at a minimum is a preliminary climate vulnerability and risk assessment. I would encourage you to refer in your application to earlier versions or the current status of your climate vulnerability and risk assessment. What we really need to know is we need to understand that you know the risks that your community is facing and how we're going to address them. Um, but more importantly, it's important to have that existing list of adaptation actions available because, like I mentioned before, we're starting off with that as a move forward point. But again, they don't have to be in an adaptation plan. They can be in other documents as well. And then the other question that was asked was, what are some ways to hold leadership accountable for the commitments made? So I'd like to refer you to the ICLEI Canada's Climate Communications Toolkit, which was just released last week. This toolkit will help build support, will help you understand how to build support behind projects. But this project itself as well is geared towards trying to develop local support behind adaptation actions in particular. And so we hope that this project will also help you get the leadership backing. Okay, so that is the end of the presentation. So I am happy now to take any questions that people might have.
We have some questions in the chat. I can read them, Karina, if you
Okay.
want. So does this apply if we are just working on corporate adaptation with impacts into community, but not actively engaging with community at this time?
So I guess what I would say is we really like if you have a climate risk and vulnerability and risk assessment completed, and you have an understanding of what your adaptation actions are, even if it isn't quite approved by council yet um, or approved in any way, I think it's still valid because if what you're looking for is to advance those quickly, I think there's still an opportunity to participate in this project.
If we have a climate change adaptation plan but did not do a risk and vulnerability assessment yet, are we eligible?
Um, so I guess the question would be, again, if you have adaptation actions, if you you don't necessarily need to have a formalized vulnerability and risk assessment. If your adaptation plan was developed around understanding the risks in some way, I think that would be eligible to move forward. It really comes down to we want you to be able to identify your local risks and hazards, and support those with the adaptation actions that are documented.
There is a question about funding here and the funding that is available. I think it's probably making reference of the funding to implement these actions or to advance these actions. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so at this point, we don't have any funding to actually do the projects. What we do have is basically the whole idea of this project is to make, and maybe if we want to use the term business case or something, where you have everything that you need to go to your elected officials or the government to say, here is everything we need. It could be um, the full on like the fully developed budget for capital and operating. It could be like who are your experts or who are your consultants that you're going to need that would all become part of your budgeting. Developing the local support, all those things would be in place to basically hopefully be able to convince a council or a government to help you fund that. But we don't have actual money to actually implement this. We're just hoping to get you there so you're ready to.
I think here's another question about eligibility. So we just completed the analysis and brainstorm portion for the um, plan, the climate plan. Are we eligible?
So again, I think that you would be as long as you have some adaptation actions in mind. Again, remembering that it doesn't necessarily have to be an adaptation plan. It could be adaptation actions that are documented elsewhere as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Karina. And there is a question about the link. We will share the link in the chat, but it is also in the brochure that you can access through the website. We will share all of these links soon. And Shelly Rogers is raising her hands. I'm going to oh, it just went away. I don't know if Shelly, if you want, let me know if you want me to unmute you so you can um, share your question. I'm gonna go ahead and Sally, you're unmuted now in case you still want to share your question. We cannot hear you in case you are talking right now. I saw that you unmuted yourself. In the meantime, we got another question about are conservation authorities eligible to apply?
So conservation authorities are not eligible to apply on their own, but if they would like to, I guess, co join with their municipalities or one of their municipalities, then they would be we'd be more than happy to have them participate in the program. But they'd have to do so with a municipality.
Okay, and here is another question about it's related to the previous question about brainstorming um some actions, and it says our actions in mind are not documented yet, and this is our first climate plan. Can we still participate?
Okay, I guess the challenge that we would be facing there is right off the bat come March or April, we're going to be working with the participants to prioritize their adaptation actions that they have. So if you don't have a list of adaptation actions, then I think you won't be ready to uh, join come March.
Um, we have the list and priority. I think Megan, I think with your case specifically, we could schedule a short meeting and see your case specifically, just to make sure that you are comfortable applying and that this fits your project. So please just send us an email and we will schedule a short meeting with you. We have another question. We have a climate adaptation plan with 28 actions, but it needs an update. And so does our risk and vulnerability assessment needs updating. Can we apply for funding to do these updates? We want to include equity intentionally.
So this project is not designed to help participants redo adaptation plans. Um, However, if you want to look at this project, and you know that there's certain adaptation actions that are going to stand between your previous plan and the plan that's coming forward, then I would still encourage you to apply because if you're looking at, a new plan and you're vetting some of these adaptation actions, you might actually have a good list of like this project would help you prioritize those and get a little bit of an implementation framework that could be addressed and hopefully help your adaptation update.
All right. Here is another question. What if we are anticipating having a list of actions completed by the end of March?
I think that should be fine to apply. So please do.
Yes. This one I think is important. Will this program have another intake period sometime soon?
At this point, we don't. This is basically our funding is for this project. But there's always opportunities. Who knows what will come in the future? But our funding is limited to this one intake.
Perfect. What level of detail is required for the adaptation action plans?
Um, what level of detail? So I think if you have a good set of adaptation actions that you can basically build off of, that's all we really need at this point. There's um, if even if your adaptation plan is dated, but your vulnerability and risks are still very valid and your adaptation actions are valid, please apply.
Uh, do you have any idea how many First Nations, Inuit, or Métis governments may apply? Are you anticipating enough interest to support having a cohort for Indigenous governments?
Oh, that's a really good question. We did have quite a few interested in participating in this webinar. So we would love to. Part of what we are trying to achieve is to support First Nations communities. At this point, I don't know how many are actually going to, take us up and apply, but if there is enough interest, by all means, we would try to help support them with additional supports.
Perfect. We don't have more questions for now. Shelly, I'm not sure if you still want to ask us something. You are unmuted at this point. Okay, there is a question here about engaging First Nations. So it says, how often have you engaged with First Nation communities and how many have been successfully with funding given? What was the outcome? I think there is maybe a little bit of a confusion here as we are not providing grants at this time. This is a project that is going to support actions that you may have at this time to advance. So unfortunately, this appears as an anonymous attendee, but please leave us your email, send your email, or send us a message so we can try to solve these questions. As I'm not sure what is referring this question. What is this question referring to? So please, if you can send us your contact, we are more than happy to have a conversation about the level of engagement that we may have here. Another question here: how often? No, gosh, should we select specific adaptation actions within our adaptation plan, or will this training help identify which ones to focus on implementation?
Yes, exactly. So phase 2 and 3 will basically help you go through your long list of adaptation actions and ideally help you prioritize. So and by the time we get to phase 4, you have 1 to 3 adaptation actions that um, can be basically planned, um, like detailed planning for implementation.
Okay, we have another question from Melanie Leber. From my understanding, the program is aimed to help smaller cities and municipalities, or do you expect some major municipalities to apply as well?
Um, it's not open just to there's no size restriction at all. Nor is there, you can be rural, you can be local, sorry, urban or rural. We have no limitations. So what ideally I'd like to see is a wide cross-section of municipalities applying, understanding that the challenges will be unique, and some will be the same and some will be different, depending on where you're located. but we're hoping to build a robust plan that can address all of them across the board.
Um, okay, so we have a question about how many municipalities we are going to support through this program. I think we can clarify that again. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have we're proposing to support about 48 municipalities across Canada
Municipalities and
and
Indigenous
Indigenous
nations,
communities.
and
Yeah.
there is no limit between them. It's just we're just waiting to see how many people apply in general. Yeah. Um, sorry if you mentioned this before. Is this the first round of this program through ICLEI?
Uh, so I guess I'll start out. This is the first time we're hosting a program like this. Obviously, ICLEI's been involved in many projects in the adaptation, like advancing adaptation, but this is the first one of this kind. So yes.
We had a similar program before that was called Advancing Climate Adaptation. If you go to our website, there are links there to that project. So you may see how we are advancing some climate actions or how we did that in the past with communities. This is the first time we're doing it as a collaborative process. Yeah, and Megan, would you like to? Megan? I'm going to unmute you. Sorry that webinars are a little bit confusing because I think you have some great points here. Maybe you can share with us all of these concerns, not concerns, questions that you have. Um, it's way easier to talk. Let me know if you have access and if you're comfortable doing this. If not, we are happy to connect as well.
Hello. Hi,
Later.
can you hear
Hello,
me?
Megan. Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm sorry. I think this is amazing what you guys are doing, and just brought up some questions in my mind as we were talking. Um, I was just curious, was one of my questions was just you mentioned collaboration with projects. I know that was like one-on-one collaboration with project staff and leads. I was curious, are you planning on sharing this information between projects, like with different projects so that people can share common issues or differences within these municipalities and communities? I was just wondering if that's something that you'll be doing as well.
Yeah, so with how we're going to support, we have the one-on-one meetings, which would be like one-on-one, like probably hour-long meetings between ICLEI staff and each community, where we're really trying to focus in on individual issues. But after we get to know where the challenges are, we're going to hopefully break everybody into thematic groups where we can then pair like the same challenges or the same projects together. So then we can have that collaboration between people that are trying to address the same issues. Um, so that's another way where we're going to hopefully help break down these barriers. There will also be the group training sessions where we can bring in experts. So if it's something that is beyond maybe the expertise of anybody, within the project teams or within ICLEI, we have some funding to actually bring in other experts as well. But I think one of the things that we are going to try our best to do is that we're going to have the individual cohorts, but again, understanding that a number of municipalities may be having challenges, more than one challenge. Like we're going to try to figure out how to connect those cohorts, and it could be through resources, shared group trainings, to connect people, to make sure we're trying to address all their issues. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, if it's a little bit
Yes,
clearer.
yes, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm still unmuted, but no, that was
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
Thank you for explaining. I did hear you mention the thematic groups, but I kind of missed what you said there. So thank you for
yeah.
clarifying.
And then, of course, there will be the tailored supports that would be tailored just for your municipality as well.
That's very interesting. I'm currently working with Natural Resource Canada, and we're starting this program, Climate Resilient Coastal Communities. And it's kind of this similar in that we're working with projects, but pilot projects. So we're just building them to get them started on adaptation actions. And I was just curious on if this could be related to that or if we could partner with you, like as a government or as this program? Is that something that's we could do?
Juan, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, Megan, I think for this one, let's have a conversation
Separate,
separate.
okay.
We are also delivering a program with coastal communities. So I'm so sorry, Megan, I missed this. From where are you coming from?
I'm in Ottawa right now.
Okay. Yeah. So let's have a conversation about this. I'm pretty sure that there are many ways to cooperate. Our program it's in BC, but also through this program, I think there could be opportunities to collaborate. So if that's okay, I'm gonna set up a separate meeting for us to chat about it.
Of course. Thank you so much. Sorry for taking so much of your time. I'll let everyone else hop in now.
Oh, thank you so much, Megan. Okay, well, we are almost at time, but there is another question here. Is there a cost to participate?
No, there's no cost to become a participant in this program. And as we mentioned, we are going to have some travel subsidies for the in-person meeting. We're not exactly sure how those are going to be distributed yet, but that we don't want anybody to feel like that is something that should hold them back from applying at this point.
Can you provide the link for the application? Of course. Let me just find the link. I'll put it in the chat right now. And after this meeting, if you register to this, you will receive an email with the presentation and the links to apply. But let me just find it right now. And we have 10 more minutes. If anyone has a question, please just drop it in the chat or share or just raise your hand.
Yeah, could you guys hear me? Yeah. Je sais pas
Yeah, go
s'il y a
ahead.
des gens qui veulent poser leurs questions en français. Je peux essayer d'y répondre aussi. J'ai vu qu'il y a pas tant de gens qui s'étaient connectés au système d'interprétation simultanée en ligne. Il y avait juste mon collègue Pav et moi. Alors, je présume à ce moment-là que tout le monde comprend bien l'anglais, mais si vous êtes plus à l'aise de poser une question en français, je peux tenter d'y répondre ou traduire la question pour Karina. Donc, n'hésitez pas.
So, Marie, we have a question for you. Uh,
De comprendre comment le chat est bloqué. Je suis pas sûre de comprendre comment ça. Je vais investiguer pour voir qu'est-ce que ça veut dire, là, que c'est bloqué, parce que moi, ça fonctionne bien. Donc, si ça marche pas pour vous, je vais voir avec mon collègue, puis je vous reviens. La transcription, effectivement, pour que vous sachiez, c'est que la traduction, là, on a un transcript à la fin de Wordly qu'on pourrait vous remettre, effectivement. Donc, c'est quelque chose qu'on pourra faire, là, aussi. They're just asking about the transcript, the Wordly transcript, if you could send that along to the participants, because some of them will want to read it. So, and apparently Megan is saying it that the chat French is blocked. I'm not sure exactly what she means. That maybe when we're
mm,
trying to chat in French, it's not working. I'm not sure, but the Wordly anyway is working. I just want to make
oh,
sure.
you
You
cannot
catch?
type in the chat.
No?
Oh, apologies, everyone. Um, the challenges of these virtual meetings, please use the if you have questions in French, just use the English one, and we'll get them there. I'm not sure what's going on there with that setting. But Anne-Marie is here ready to answer any questions in French. Just please type them in the English one, and we can just monitor those questions if you have them.
Another thing I put your and my email addresses in the chat. So if you think of anything else, please give us an email, or if you think you would need a short meeting with us to discuss further, please reach out. Emery, I don't know if you want to put yours in there for any of the French-speaking participants so they can reach out to you directly. That would be excellent.
Mary, there is a question there for you. I don't want to.
Yeah. So in Quebec we have like upper tier governments. I think I was explaining to you guys, there's like municipalities and there's like district level. We call them MRCs. So the question for Megan is are the MRCs the upper tier, district level, can they apply as well?
Yes, they're eligible to apply.
Donc la réponse est oui. C'est merveilleux.